police in India have taken hundreds of people into custody for defying a ban on protests against a controversial new citizenship law. The ban was imposed after protests in 2 states turned violent last week. Now, the law offers citizenship to immigrants from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan escaping religious persecution, but it does not include Muslims. Communication networks and transport have been shut down amid the ongoing demonstrations.
Defiant, they came out to protest. And peacefully they resisted. People across the country refused to be deterred by the protest ban. They say the new law makes religion a basis for granting Indian citizenship and discriminates against Muslims. They believe it threatens the secular nature of Indian democracy.
This Citizenship Amendment Act is against the Indian Constitution. It is illegal. It is against the spirit of independence of our country.
Many prominent people were taken into custody while protesting, including the well-known historian Ramachandra Guha. His detention prompted widespread outrage. On Twitter, a Delhi-based political historian condemned what he described as the police manhandling one of our most prolific and influential public intellectuals and scholars. The government said it was forced to take steps in the interest of public safety after many protests turned violent last week. In the capital, Delhi, protests caused more than a dozen train stations to be closed. Roads were blocked, traffic congested. Authorities also shut down mobile phone networks and the internet in several regions. Many locals were left frustrated.
It's a very difficult situation and a very bad situation. We're facing a lot of problems. The roads also have a lot of traffic jams, and some of them are blocked. So it's a pathetic situation.
But there may be much more disruption on its way. There are few signs that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to back down over the law, and the protesters appear not afraid to disobey.
All right, let's get the latest now. For more, we bring in Sandhya Ravishankar. She's a journalist in Chennai, India. First of all, we understand mobile networks, the internet have been shut down in some areas of the country. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, some parts of Delhi, the national capital of India, has, faced some blackout of mobile networks. And this is largely because the call for protests are spreading through social media networks as well as messaging apps like WhatsApp. So, in fact, all of us have received a bunch of calls to action, in a sense, through WhatsApp, basically mentioning where the protests are going to take place and what time it's going to take place. So this is sort of a protest that is being spread via social media networks and WhatsApp, and a large section of urban India is coming out to protest in solidarity with the students who are opposing the controversial Citizenship Amendment Bill and the National Registry of Citizens.
Who's sending out those alerts on social media? Who's behind these protests, the organizers of it?
Well, it's unclear as to whether this protest is actually led by somebody. Of course, the opposition has joined in and they have, conducted their own little protest marches and they've jumped into the fray as well. But it does not seem to have any specific leader in that sense. So we're looking at a protest that's being led largely by the social media, by messages which are being spread through the social media networks, and people are coming out to express their solidarity. So even if it's just for a few hours, they take a break from work, they come out, they protest, and they go back. So that's what we're witnessing right now in India.
Sandhya, as we heard, prominent figures are being arrested for protesting. Is there any kind of sense that Indian authorities are becoming a bit more brazen in this crackdown on demonstrations?
Well, the Indian government, the Home Minister, has very clearly stated that there will be no negotiation or no backing down, in a sense, on these two controversial bits of legislation. So, in fact, he has also stated clearly that there will be no dialogue with protesters or students. So it does not look like the government is going to back down. In fact, it's likely that we're going to see some more police action to quell the protests that are taking place.
Now, as that police action continues, do you think the Indian government may start to lose any sort of support over the way that it's dealing with these protests and with the bill itself?
Well, it's still early days yet. It's only the third day of protests in the rest of India outside of the Northeast. The Northeastern states have been protesting for a lot longer, of course. But it's still early days, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens. As of now, what we are able to see is that a section of urban India is coming out in solidarity, and this is something we have not seen since 2011, when the anti-corruption protests happened in the metro cities. But rural India is largely silent, and it's probably because the messaging and the narrative has not actually reached them, and probably there is no understanding of the consequences of these two legislations.
All right, Sandhya Ravishankar in Chennai, thank you very much for that update.